the soul of your soil. Expect incredible blooms and prize-winning veg, all whilst protecting our planet's vital peatlands. Ready to outshine the neighbours? Feed your passion with a professional's choice. Visit ecogreencompost.co.uk and grow the future today.
Oh. Well, we're supposed to have an introduction tune, but it didn't start, so something's gone wrong. But tonight, our guest is Dr. Stephen Young, PhD, and I believe you're, was it a nuclear physicist, if I got the right teeth in?
Yeah, nuclear physics.
Oh, hang on, it's starting. Wait, sorry.
Quite smart little bites that brighten your way. You're listening to Food for Thought Radio. Here at FFTradio.com. Club Moo Oink!
No, order, sit and leave.
This is the best political satire broadcast in the universe.
Order! I say to the honourable gentleman, give me this.
You are listening to Fockham Hall with Eric von Essex.
Good evening and welcome to another exciting show. And guess who balls up the introduction tonight? And we welcome to the show Dr. Stephen Young, PhD, who's a nuclear physicist. So we're certainly going to learn something tonight, but a whistleblower, and a very brave whistleblower at that. So welcome to the show, Stephen. How would you like to be addressed? Stephen, Dr. Young? Or...
Thank you. That's fine. Stephen is fine. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And, well, welcome to the show. And we're live on YouTube, Rumble, Food for Thought Radio, Holylandradio, and Holylandradio FM. And welcome everybody, and welcome everybody in chat as well. Now, starting off, what first... I mean, you obviously went to university and you've studied a lot and you certainly know what you're talking about. When did the sort of inkling come in that we're not quite being told? Well, first of all, can you give us a little bit of a background about yourself? I'm jumping ahead of myself there.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I went to university back in 1996. I did a master's in theoretical physics at the University of St Andrews, which is near where I live. And then I went down to Guildford and did a PhD in theoretical nuclear physics, which is basically quantum physics. So, you know, I had a lot, that was like 8 solid years of like hardcore physics and maths, you know, big chunk of my life. And you know, as I always say, like what happened at the end of that, I was basically 25 years old. I'd been in education since I was 4. And I came out with this doctorate, and I had a really hard time getting a job. It was just, you know, there just wasn't jobs available which really needed the kind of skills that I had. In fact, I didn't really have much in the way of skills because all this like advanced mathematics and physics theory did not really equip me with skills that are valuable in the job market. I mean, I was doing some computer programming, but mainly just we were using like really old programming languages and you know, just solving equations and plotting graphs and stuff like that. It was not the level of programming that's used in like the gaming industry and things like that now. So I came out with like big qualification, but very little skills. And I spent about 6 months unemployed. Didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life. I was applying for jobs left, right, and center. And eventually I got a job in an IT consultancy company. And, you know, I worked there for 5 years. I was working mainly on contactless payments. So this was back in 2005, before before we had contactless cards and NFC phones. Basically, we were helping develop and test all that stuff like back in the day. But I was not happy. I didn't like my job. I didn't like the corporate world, and I really wanted to sort of be my own boss. In fact, I wanted to be an independent artist because my whole life I'd actually been really into music and music production and DJing. It was kind of a hobby, a side gig kind of thing, but it was kind of growing. I started producing my own records in my spare time, and I just thought I want to do this full time. So it took me a few years to work up to it, but in 2010 I quit my job and I just went full time as a music producer and DJ. So my music production name is Headflux, Hedflux.
Great.
And I did over 100 tunes between 2005 and 2025.
Wow.
And it took me all over the world. I played all around the world, and I had 10 really good years from like 2010 to 2020 as a producer. But yeah, in addition to that, though, of course, I still had a scientific background. I was still doing a lot of research as well. You don't just spend all day, every day making music, right? I was still doing a lot of reading, a lot of research, researching conspiracies, researching alternative science, researching things like alchemy, which is like the ancient science before modern science. Ancient science was based in alchemy, and I became fascinated with that. And the more I started learning that, I sort of then started to get this sense of the differences between the modern scientific view that we're given in school and university and the ancient scientific view. I say ancient, but we talk about like 150, 200, 300, 400 years ago. They had a completely different picture of nature and the cosmos from what we do now. So I had all this going on kind of in the background, but my public image was just a music producer. I wasn't really talking about conspiracies and all that kind of stuff at that point. But then in 2020, when COVID happened, or didn't happen, the operation of COVID, it was a big wake up call. I kind of fell out of the music industry because it was just ugly. It was just really ugly what was going on in the industry. Of course, a lot of the artists were promoting the jabs and everything and going along with the whole thing. And I mean, it was pretty, in the entertainment industry in general, it was like if you weren't jabbed and going along with COVID, you didn't have a job. I mean, it's that, it was like that all over the entertainment industry. But I just didn't even, it got to a point where I just didn't see any future left for me as a music producer, in that industry. And I'd had a lot of good years with it. So, in my younger years, I was now kind of in my mid 40s and getting on about, my midlife crisis and COVID hit at the same time kind of thing. So it was just like, what am I going to do with my life now? And, I just kind of came to the conclusion that I have to speak truth about science, right? Because I'd learned all this stuff about science and how a lot of the stuff I'd learned at university doesn't actually hold water, doesn't stand up to scrutiny, isn't real, doesn't produce anything good in the world, because it's been over 20 years since I finished my PhD. So I've had a lot of time to review what I've learned and look at the world and see, where is there any evidence of any of this science being used. And so, I ended up writing this book.
Excellent.
Here we are.
Excellent.
Fool's Wisdom.
A Fool's Wisdom.
Science,
Available
Conspiracies, and the Secret Art of Alchemy. So that's kind of catapulted me into a new career. I released it in 2024. Spent about 2 years writing it before that. And and then so I in there in the first half, I go into all the science conspiracies, physics, chemistry, medicine, biology, all of that. And then in the second half, I talk about the secret art of alchemy, which is an ancient science that's kind of secret and kind of hidden from us, but the knowledge is there if you're seeking it.
Wow. Well, first of all,
there you
before we go any further, I'd like to thank Mike Mantis for arranging this interview.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate. It's much appreciated, because without him, you wouldn't be speaking to me now. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
And that's great, mate. Thank you. It really is appreciated. And we've got some questions coming up in the chat, because I've asked people to put things in block capitals if they've got a question.
Mhm.
But I jumped ahead of myself. I said, when did the penny sort of drop? And I don't know, you sort of answered it in a way when I
Well-
jumped ahead of myself. So, I mean, was there a time you thought, hang on a minute, most people say 9/11, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's multiple penny drop moments, or you could say multiple awakenings. It definitely wasn't just like one, big aha moment. It took time. I mean, 9/11 was a big awakening to just like the nature of media and government and psychological operations and all this kind of thing. But in terms of like the science that I'd learned, yeah, it wasn't till it would be 2016 or so that I first started looking into the flat Earth stuff. And this was like a real big moment because I the thing with flat Earth is like they say a flat earther is someone who tried to prove the globe and failed, right? And so I kind of took on the challenge myself because I was a physicist. I'm like watching all these videos and I'm like thinking about it, and I'm thinking I haven't actually got a proof of the globe. We have things like NASA, for example, and all these like space. But I kind of knew the moon landings were a hoax and stuff like that. But I thought all the other stuff that NASA had done was like legitimate somehow.
I used to.
I didn't believe in the moon landings, but I
Yes.
believed in all the kind of modern stuff they were doing. But then when I started looking into that, it just started like disintegrating, like into ashes. And there's obviously masses of content out there like exposing NASA now. And then looking into the theory as well, like the theory of the heliocentric solar system, that the Earth is a globe, is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles an hour and flying through the galaxy at 500,000 miles an hour and all this kind of thing. All this stuff I just accepted my whole life. I started looking for
Well,
the
so
proof.
excuse me,
for the
I've got my
proof.
tin foil hat on. I hope you don't mind. Bloody hell, it's hot. It really is. I thought I put it on just for the people saying, "Yeah, conspiracy theories." I say, yes, okay,
Yeah.
tin foil hat on. But I know what you mean. I mean, for example, when the command module, they had a display in the Science Museum when I was studying architecture, and down in London. And we, for some unknown reason, I think a lecture was cancelled or something. So we had a spare couple of hours. So a group of us went to the Science Museum. It's free to get in to see the command module from the Apollo. And you could walk up on like a sort of a raised platform and look inside. And there was about, I can't remember the exact numbers, about 20 of us, including a couple of lecturers, went in convinced they landed on the moon. And 20 of us walked out convinced they didn't land on the moon or was anywhere near it, because we looked in there. We're saying, and I remember there's a commissioner bloke. Remember they used to have these old boys with their flat caps who stand there. They were employed ex-army blokes, and this bloke was laughing. He couldn't stop laughing, and I mean, we were sort of young, and he said, do you mind if I have a look underneath it? He said, I haven't seen you. Look the other way. And we're looking all around this. And we thought, what? It's a bloody tin can. It looked at it in made by sort of senior school or no, junior school. I think that was sort of level. And they made it in there sort of, oh, look, they even had, excuse my language, a first aid box that was on the piss. And I think the bloke must have been a bit peeved when he did it. And there was a cross hand painted on the first aid box. I thought, very high tech that is, isn't it? And all these switches that they've got a job lot of, but they were done for effect. I can't remember. I don't think they were labelled. I think they were just switches. But if there's three blokes changing into space uniforms in this confined space, they must have been very intimate. And how is it? Oh, don't touch that switch. Oh, get your foot out my nose. That type of thing. Where you got your hand? Hey, that sort of. But anyway, all the questions.
We're supposed to believe that it's space proof, but it doesn't even look rain proof.
No, it wasn't. And I think, was it some Japanese fishermen or something? Saw the when they was splashed down, they actually saw the capsule being lobbed out of the back of a Hercules transporter plane with a couple of parachutes. So I heard. They just saw it.
Yeah.
Strange. But now Matilda Warrer says, "What's the biggest lie science has offered?" And that's quite a question. In your opinion, Matilda goes on to say.
I mean, look, there's a lot of big lies, and some people, like the flat earthers, would rightly say that the globe is the biggest lie. It's obviously that's a very controversial one, and you do get a lot of pushback on that. But I'm definitely of that opinion that there is no globe Earth. There's no planet Earth. The thing we call planet Earth, the big ball of water and clouds flying through space, it just doesn't exist. It's a fiction. And that's a pretty big lie. And so I mentioned that I came to that first, actually, and it was later I came to, well, when I started looking into viruses. All right, at the beginning of COVID, my first thought was I have to understand viruses and understand how they work and what is the proof that they exist. And that just led me down a rabbit hole where I just could not find proof of viruses, but I kept finding a lot of doctors like Dr. Stefan Lanka, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Tom Cowan, and many others who were saying this. There is no scientific proof of viruses, and actually no scientific proof of contagion. The idea of a particle, a viral particle, which comes out of us and gives sickness to other people. The experiments where they've actually tried to prove that haven't succeeded. Because you think about it, involves, like, in order to prove contagion, you would have to take fluids from a sick person, and then you would have to then look in those fluids and find the contagion particle, the virus, and you'd have to separate the virus from the rest of the fluids, and then you would have to then administer that to a healthy person, and then that healthy person would have to display the exact same sickness as the sick person, right?
They did that, didn't they? In the 1914 or 9? No, sorry, 9. The one during the First World War. I suppose.
Well, there's definitely been some attempts at things like
that.
They
did it, but nobody went down with it, with the flu.
Yeah,
actually,
it's never been proven.
Right.
Yeah, it's
never proven. That's right.
But the whole entire vaccination industry and a lot of the pharmaceutical industry all like rests on this theory that there is such a thing as contagious particles that make people sick. And so that's a big lie. I mean, that is a huge lie, and it's been going on for well over 100 years. So that's another one. But so when I'd kind of come through that, and I was kind of comfortable and confident that viruses are a fraud, I started thinking about, well, what about atoms and molecules, right? Because that's my wheelhouse, right? I've been working with atoms, molecules, nuclei, subatomic particles. I say working with them, working with them in a theoretical sense, right? Working with the equations and the models and stuff like that. Of course, I'm not actually handling atoms and molecules. And I wondered, is anybody actually handling atoms and molecules and actually working with them? Have they ever been like isolated or like proven to exist? And you'd think, God, as a nuclear physicist, I should know this. But it was all so highly theoretical that I realized I didn't know. I didn't know for a fact whether atoms and molecules exist. So, when I was writing the book, I went deep into trying to find any jobs or anywhere that people are working with atoms and molecules. Now, you might say chemists work with molecules, right? They make molecules. A chemist will say they made a molecule. But if you actually look at what they're doing in real life, not in the theoretical, not on paper, but actually in real life, they're just working with like salts and liquids and stuff like that. They don't make a molecule, they make a salt, right? They make a substance. But the molecule is called a molecular formula. The molecular formula is actually the recipe for the substance, right? It's like they have this sort of 3D structure that they call a molecule, which encodes the properties of the substance and the recipe by which that substance is made. So I found that, yeah, the molecules are not these like things just existing down there, like, bobbing around in space. They're actually theoretical constructs, that encode like the
Well, they're
recipe
invisible.
properties,
But it's always an invisible fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Radiation. Oh, you can't see it. People coughing, all these germs, you can't see them.
Mhm.
And it's always that. And the things, we've got another question here, but the thing that gets me is that they've done loads of experiments where they've injected the most vile things. If anybody's having their tea now or having eating, because in America I think it's dinner time. I won't go into it, but sorry to say, pus and nasty people, what people sneeze out and things like that into guinea pigs or people willing to have it be experimented on, and they didn't go down. And they closed the cold test research station, which was going for years, because they tried passing colds on to people and it didn't work. It was
Yeah.
sitting there. I knew somebody that went to one of those things. He said he sat there a couple of days and nothing happened.
Yeah.
He said he didn't go down with a cold. But now Embryo, who's our transport minister, Fockenhall transport minister, don't mention anything about buses or trains.
Okay.
Just we keep off of trains. Gets him going. No, or Anorak, as he's known. What do you believe we actually live on? Is this a flat realm, or are we in a simulation or something else altogether?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really into simulation theory, to be honest, but I just try to. I reduce everything down to the elements: fire, earth, air, and water. I talk about alchemy in the beginning, and this is how the alchemists viewed the world in terms of fire, earth, air, and water. And I found that to be actually a very liberating, very enlightening view, because these are real things. Fire, earth, air, and water are as real as it gets. Like they're all around us, they're inside of us, they're very real. And when you start looking at the world that way, things definitely start to make a lot more sense. And so, with the flat Earth stuff, there's tons of different reasons why people kind of like gravitate towards that. But the thing that usually settles it for people is long distance observations, right? You can do long distance observations, and you can calculate how far things should be behind the horizon. If we live on a globe, then the further away things are, the more they should go over the curve of the Earth, and then you won't see them anymore. And that's a very precise calculation, because they tell us that the globe has a radius of 3,900 and something miles. So it's a very specific mathematical calculation. You can look at something through a telescope or binoculars, look at how far away it is, and you should know how far it should be below the horizon. And this is what really settles it for a lot of people, is because they go out and they do these observations themselves, and they find out they can just see way further into the distance than should be possible. So I do think we live on a flat plane, but there's some nuance to it. The Earth itself, the Earth element, right? So that's the Earth element is the soil, the rocks, and the land, the terrain that we walk on, right? The terrain is clearly not flat. It's rough, it's bumpy, right? It goes up, you've got mountains, and then it goes down below the sea. You've got like trenches that the water sits in. It's like up and down. It's not, the Earth is not flat as the terrain. The terrain is not flat. But what is flat is the ocean, the water it's called sea level, right? From coast to coast, like from here over to Denmark. I'm on the east coast of Scotland. That is a flat level plain. The ocean surfaces, we have Loch Ness here. Loch Ness is a good example. It's like 22.5 miles long, like straight and narrow, long body of water. And you can see from one end to the other, on a clear day. But if we lived on a globe, you shouldn't be able to see the beach 22.5 miles away. It shouldn't be possible. And so there's just hundreds and hundreds of examples of this. And it appears as though that we live on a plane, but it's the water that's flat. The Earth itself is kind of lumpy, and the Earth holds the water, but it also comes out of the water and makes the lands that we live on and stuff. So,
Mm.
yeah, so I believe that we live on a plane. I don't know how far the plane extends. In our, we're kind of trapped in, right? We can't go past Antarctica. You can visit Antarctica and visit, one of the research bases there, and it's all very, official, but you're not allowed to go off exploring Antarctica by yourself,
Mm.
kind of thing. Like Antarctica is like out of bounds. It's like the outer limits of the realm. But there's also the North. The North is out of bounds.
Is
So
it? I didn't realize the North Pole was.
yeah, I mean, if you
Yeah.
look on a map now, there's no North Pole, right? It's just an ocean. Like if you go like from Scotland on a boat, where are you going to end up? If you go and look at a modern map, there's nothing. You just go off the edge of the map. There's nothing there. But if you look at older maps, there's 4 lands at the North Pole, like 4 lands with 4 rivers coming out from a central source, like the river of life, and exactly as described in the Bible. And loads of old maps, like from the 1500s and everything, have this land at the north. But in our modern maps, that land has been completely deleted. I mean, even if you go back to like when I was a kid, right, the maps used to have ice at the north, right? There would be like an icy land at the north, but now there's nothing at all.
Really? I
yeah.
didn't realize, because I know they altered it in 1959, didn't they? Because there was something big happened in 1959. There was an international agreement that people
The
don't go
Antarctic
to
Treaty.
the Antarctic Treaty. That
Yeah.
didn't happen. But Mark Anthony's put a good one here. What was it? NASA. Was it never a straight answer?
Never
I'd call it National Association of Space Actors. But
Yeah. Also, never a safe asshole. Yeah.
But I like that one. Now, Mark Anthony's asked, and the answer is I don't know, mate. He asked me, am I referring to the Rosenau experiments conducted in 1918 by Dr. Milton J. Rosenau? Probably. I'm not quite. I'm a bit shaky on that one. Sorry, mate. I can't say yes or no, but it probably is.
Mhm.
That's what I heard. I read an article about it, and I've forgotten all the names.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we kind of we live within this band between the North Pole area, which is out of bounds and off the map, and Antarctica, which is on the map but is distorted. I mean, on the globe, obviously Antarctica is a little island on the bottom of the ball, but on the flat map, it's the ring around. It's basically the ice that contains the water of all the oceans. And so we're kind of in this like band where these two areas are out of bounds. So when we can't explore Antarctica, we don't really know how far the Earth extends. We don't know if there's an edge. Some people are like, oh, if the Earth is flat, why can't you just go to the edge and fall off, kind of thing. It was like, well, we don't know if there is an edge because we're not allowed to go there. We will be removed by military force if you try to go there. So we don't know. We don't know what's there. But through measurement and observation, we can tell that the Earth realm is a level plane, and I believe that, but I don't know how far it goes.
What about Admiral Byrd? Because he said quite a lot, didn't he? About he was an Antarctic explorer, and they reckon he was done in. But
Yeah.
now Embryo or Paul, mate, says, I wonder whether hills and mountains are the graves of giants. Well, I do believe that what we're seeing with Tabletop Mountain is actual fossilized trees of thousands of years ago. And Paul Britton has come in and said, only space that exists is inside, I think, our head. I think he's being personal there. Is this true? Now, this is another. Mike Manchester says, why don't other scientists blow the whistle on what they have been taught? Well, they do.
Yeah, I think more and more are, but you kind of have to be out of a job, right? Because if you want to keep your job and you want to get your funding, then you can't you can't say this kind of stuff. But because I was independent, I was an independent artist and then an independent author. You know, it was, you know, during COVID, I realized that I've got nothing to lose. I have to speak the truth, and just deal with the consequences. And, you know, I've I've been dealing with the consequences for the last 2 years. But I think there are more and more. I mean, I get people writing to me all the time, scientists and doctors from all kinds of different disciplines, and they're, you know, they're coming online, they're getting on board, they're figuring it out. And but yeah, it's a big step to come out publicly and say this stuff if you have a job, because you're
Oh yes.
quite likely going to lose it. So it's kind of a leap of faith into the
Well,
unknown.
the thing is, in China years ago, they believed that the sun was dragged across the sky by a giant turtle. And they believed that, and even scientists did, because the emperor said so. Because if the emperor said so, it must be right. And when in the 19th century, when you had China started to open up, and it took about 2 generations to get it into their mind that a giant turtle does not drag the sun across the sky. But they used to believe that, and there's apparently technical writings, and it was missionaries that changed people's view. But you know, they would show them that they said, "Well, an ancient turtle does not drag the sun across the sky," and they go, "Oh, that's very interesting." But of course, an ancient turtle does, and but the thing is that we are conditioned to believe in certain things, but our ancestors were very, very advanced, but in a different way. Is the way I
Yeah.
think. And now the other one was is Embryo again, who is a flat Earth enthusiast. What do you think is beyond Antarctica? More land behind the ice wall? Well, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a good case for land beyond the ice. There's do you know about like the vibes of cosmos and the moon map idea and stuff like that? Have you seen that kind of thing?
No, I don't know.
So
No.
and this actually goes way back. There's maps from, like, I've seen ones from like the 1600s that you know, it's a map of the moon. So
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure people have figured this out, but the moon is a stationary image, right? It's the image of the full moon is always the same. It's a fixed image. I mean, depending on where you are in the world, it might be upside down or on its side or whatever, but it's the exact same face all the time. All the markings are the same. And there's a channel called Vibes of Cosmos, and some others who've done a lot of work showing that the moon actually contains a map of the realm, like a reflection of the realm, and they'll show you like where all the countries are, where all the continents are. They're like on the moon, but it's just a portion of the moon, and there's all these other lands on the moon as well. And so they hypothesized that, you know, we are part of a larger plane, but the Earth map that we're familiar with is just like a sort of quarter of that entire plane. And so there's this idea that it moves around, you know, over 26,000 years, let's say, like the precession of the equinox. It will like move around the plane, and so the areas which are iced and the areas which are, you know, live will change gradually over time, like in a kind of precession. So, you know, similar to the heliocentric model, but, you know, but on a plane instead of, you know, out in space with all these stars and planets and stuff.
There's an interesting point. I mean, I saw the eclipse a couple of weeks back, and I made a box up where you sort of looked into the box and you could see the reflection. So you turned your back to the sun, you looked in this box, and I actually saw like a disc going over the moon. Sorry, the Earth. It was actual. What am I talking about? You could see this sort of circular thing, the Earth moving around. Now, I make sundials. It's a hobby of mine. I love making sundials, and the geometry works out perfectly for round. We're at 52 degrees north. Where you are is about 53 degrees north. Spain is 38 degrees north. Could it be? I have seen that people say it's a half globe. It's like it's cut in half or something like that.
Well, I mean, with the eclipse, I saw it as well a few
Mm.
weeks ago. I mean, the main issue there is like, where's the moon? We're told that the moon is coming in front of the sun, but if you actually look closely at it, there's no moon to be seen. There's literally it's like they would describe it as like the sun like eats itself, right? You don't
Yeah.
see an object moving in front of the sun. You just see this kind of darkness like coming over the the face of the sun. But if there if it was a big sphere, right, in the sky,
Mhm.
it would look completely different. You would be able to see the moon. It would be lit up from behind. The moon would be lit up from behind, or lit up to the side as it approaches and stuff. But there's no visibility of the moon as it approaches because solar eclipses only happen on a new moon, right? And a new moon is dark. Well, it's a dark moon, right? So you have 28 days of lunar light from the first crescent. You have 14 days up to the full moon, and then 14 days down to the last crescent, and then there's about a day and a half where the moon is just not in the sky. And you can track where it's supposed to be and point your telescope at it, and there is nothing there. Like the moon disappears for a day and a half every month. And so
That's
that's when
interesting.
eclipses happen. So it's like there's no
Yeah.
moon in the sky when the eclipse happens, and that's a big issue.
I know what you mean. And what about springtime when they can see the moon in Australia, but you can also see the moon during the day in this country? I can never quite work that one out. And they say, oh, it's because it's so bright. Huh? That doesn't answer the question. But how comes they can see it in Australia, but we can see it in this country during the day?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's amazing, and I definitely don't have a whole model of the cosmos, as it were. I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of what we're doing is like breaking down and questioning the stuff that we've been given, the stuff that we've been taught. But people are coming up with models to explain how the sun and the moon work on a flat Earth. The Bible, of course, is a flat Earth book, and the Bible and some of the ones
Well,
outside the Bible, like the Book of Enoch and stuff like that, really describe in great detail actually how it all works with the luminaries above the Earth and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of theories, a lot of speculation on how the heavens work. But another point of view is that maybe we humans can never know how the heavens work. It's
I
described
know
as
what you mean.
God's
Yes.
handiwork, right? It's like we didn't make the sun, we didn't make the moon, we don't make the stars. And in fact, there's nothing like that in our lives. We don't see like little balls of light, right, just flying around. it's not a normal part of experience, but yet up there in the sky there are these balls of light moving around continuously. And how do we explain that? It's a mystery.
Well, Matilda Warra says the Bible describes the earth as having four corners, like you said
Yeah.
earlier. I think that's a repeat there. Now, I don't quite understand this. Paul Britton has said, do they create the bogeyman? I don't get that. Sorry, mate, you have to explain yourself a bit more. Do you
Well,
get that one?
yeah, I can answer that.
Mm.
Well, one of the things I found, so in my book, one of the central kind of insights was that I realized that there's basically 5 theories that all modern science is based upon, right? And the first one is atomism, the belief that everything is made from atoms. Then there's like gravity, the belief that there's this force called gravity that holds everything in the universe together. Then heliocentrism, right? You're a globe spinning around the sun, going, that kind of thing. And then there's evolution, the theory of evolution, which came later. And then after evolution, there's the germ theory, which is based on the theory of evolution. And all these 5 theories are all interlinked. But what I noticed, coming back to the bogeyman question, is that all these theories have a bogeyman attached to them, right? So
Mhm.
in the case of atomism, we have the atom bomb, the nuclear bomb, right? That is the big bogeyman from the atomic theory.
Yeah.
But whereas with gravity, you have things like black holes. Okay, they tell us that gravity can create black holes, which can suck everything in and just destroy everything, to suck it all into oblivion. And then with heliocentrism and outer space, we have things like aliens and asteroids, right? There's like a
Yes.
new bogeyman. my grandmother and grandfather did not believe in aliens. Like they would laugh. they would laugh
Well-
at me for talking about aliens. They're like, no one believes in that crap. But they hadn't had
My parents the same.
they hadn't had the programming that we had. Then we grew up with all the sci-fi and just relentless science fiction, like Alien, like programming and Roswell and all this kind of stuff. So it's a relatively new thing to believe in aliens, and it's all based on heliocentrism and the theory of outer space and stuff. So yeah, and then with evolution, well, you have things like people are afraid of mutation, and with evolution is a funny one because it's like this idea that like some of us are more evolved than others, right? And it brings with it this kind of almost like celebrity worship, because these that good looking celebrities and wealthy people appear to be more than us, right? Because they're so successful, they're so good looking. So evolution is this kind of elitist doctrine, and it really puts you down. And then of course with the germ theory, well, I mean, you have viruses, and that viruses are the bogeyman of the germ theory. So yeah, like all of these theories have a fear component attached to them, and that fear is used as part of the propaganda and just the general fear mongering of
Well-
society. Yeah.
Does that mean, you see, with evolution, does that mean that if nature needed something like my car would evolve? Over thousands of years, you'd get a Toyota car. There it would, complete with all the windows and everything. The engine. So, there's a Toyota.
Yeah.
Nah, I can't see evolution. But now EXO has come on. Oh, mate, interesting. Antarctica. Does Stephen think the firmament is linked to the idea of being in a prison planet type evolving human situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really, on the prison planet sort of vibe. Well, firstly, it's not a planet; it's a plane. And then secondly, is it a prison or is it just a place where you can come to grow and learn? As a spiritual being, you can come here, come into physical, and then grow and learn, and then leave. But the firmament, well, the big question with the firmament, where there's kind of a lot of debate, is it a solid barrier? Like, is it like glass or crystal or quartz, like an actual like hard physical barrier over the earth? Or is it something more energetic, like something more etheric? Because in a lot of the ancient science, they would say that there's no matter up there. Right? Matter exists down here in the material plane, but what's up there is spiritual and etheric, right? It's not solid. So the idea of a solid firmament, like a glass dome kind of thing, like a fishbowl, I think is pretty questionable. But there may be some energetic boundary, which the air, it basically keeps the air in, right? It's like that was the problem with the globe model, is if we lived in an infinite vacuum on a spinning space ball, then all the air, the atmosphere, would just get sucked out into space, right? Because that's what vacuums do. They suck gases into a state of equilibrium. So you can't have an infinite vacuum next to a pressurized atmosphere with no boundary. It's impossible. The atmosphere would just get sucked out into space.
Right.
So
Well-
we do kind of come to the conclusion that we must be kind of contained, but we don't have to look at that as like that we're in prison. I think it's just a necessary aspect of creation. Like when you create anything, you have to apply limits, right? You have to contain your creation. You can't just be, just wide open to like everything, right? And
I know what you mean. Well, sorry, you're going to say. Sorry, I chimed in there. Terribly sorry.
yeah, no, it's all right. I mean, just finally, I mean, there's this idea of hermetically sealed. You talk about hermetically sealed is when something is sealed so that no air or water or earth can get out, but the light can still get through. And that's what I think that's what I think it is. It's, we have this, we're inside of something. Light can get in and out, but the air and the water and the earth is stuck within. It's hermetically sealed.
That's interesting. Now, I did a couple of polls for this show on Telegram, my Telegram channel, and it's up on the screen at the moment. And the first question was, do nuclear bombs exist? And 11% said yes, 50% said no. I was no voter, and 39% said don't know. So, and that was out of 18 votes. And then I said, do wars just happen? 6% said yes, 6% said no, 43% said a secret death cult runs the world. All countries are in on it. That's my one. 37% said the same usury scammers finance both sides of war. Yes, I agree with that. And what else was it? I'll just move this up a little bit. Here we go. Oops. 0% said they don't know. 80% said it's the unmentionables. 6% said it's governments. 18% said it's Zionists. 0% said a secret religious sect. 18% said it's bankers. 12% said it's greed, and 25% said psychopaths. So there we go. That's quite a good rundown, isn't it? So yeah, so I'll keep that up there for people that are whoops, hang on, I've lost myself now. Where am I? There we are.
Can I show you something quickly?
Certainly. I'll just take this one off. Where are we? That's it. Right. Okay.
Did that screen share come on?
Yes, I'll add to screen share. Oh, hang on. Where's it gone? Hang on. I'll just push this over here. Here we are.
There, yeah. I just want to show you this. This was this guy David Latimer. He planted this garden in a jar in terrarium in like 1972, if memory serves me correctly.
Yes, there it is. Yeah, 72.
Yeah, there it is. There, yeah, and he only opened it one time to put a little bit more water in, and otherwise it's growing and it's thriving, and there's a whole ecosystem in here. No water gets in or out, no air gets in or out. Only the sunlight gets in and out, and so I think this is a good model for what we are. The Earth, it's a contained system where the light gets in. We have earth, air, fire, and water on the inside, and things just grow and happen and change over time due to the continuous influence of the lights in the heavens, primarily the sun and moon. But yeah, it's kind of sealed, and and as I said, this is possible, right? It's like, this shows that principle. So I think that this kind of idea, yeah, is like a sort of microcosm of the macrocosm.
Yeah. Well, I've got some spider plants in a jam jar, which I put some water in the bottom, and they've been in there for a year, and they're actually in my front living room window sill, and they get the light, and they're still living, and it's completely sealed. It's just a little drop of water at the bottom.
Yeah,
and they live on that. So now, Paul Britton has said, industries create shit. Yes, I agree with you there. Yes. And the next one is Mike Mantis says, nukes, real or not?
Good question. So I came at that from the theoretical side, like I said, so theoretical nuclear physics is what I did. And, I came out of my PhD well aware that I didn't have a clue how to build a nuclear bomb or a nuclear power plant, right? So just not a clue. Like, no one was doing that. Like, that's not the kind of work that academic nuclear physicists do. Really what they're doing is they're modeling what happens when energy interacts with matter. That's kind of what nuclear physicists do. They look at like, what happens if you get light and you fire light onto a particular substance, how does it react and all that kind of thing. That was basically what I was doing. nothing to do with bombs or power stations. So yeah, it was many years later I really started to question whether any of the theory was legit or not. And again, this was before even like, looking at the criticisms of the nuclear program. I was looking at it just from a purely scientific point of view. But then I found out about Michael Palmer, his work, Hiroshima Revisited, where he wrote that book, all about it, and goes through all the problems with the official story of like Hiroshima and Nagasaki and this kind of thing. And when I looked at his work, and the funny thing is, he's done the most thorough debunking of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but he still believes in nukes. This
Really?
is
That is weird, because well, I reckon there's massive high explosives laced with mustard gas.
Yeah,
and
napalm and mustard gas.
And it made people sick. I mean, when I was at college, we saw, why I do not know, the uncensored film of the poor souls that were at Hiroshima. And well, we couldn't really face our dinner afterwards. I mean, it was pretty. Why we saw that, I don't know. But but the thing is that they've done soil samples there, and there's not a trace of radiation, which there would be.
Yeah, I mean, it gets really deep. But when I started seeing, okay, there's all this like research which is showing that Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which, I mean, those are held up as the proof that the proof that nukes are real, right? People always point to that. And of course, there's videos of like large explosions in the desert and everything.
That's right. The cameras are perfectly still.
Oh yeah, the cameras were solid.
And the trees go backwards and forwards. And I'm sorry, they're you can see their models.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you can see it. It's just like we're looking back at the moon landings now, right? It's like times are different now. We're not sitting around with black and white TVs like some magic box in the room where you believe everything that is being shown to you, right? We're not in that time anymore. So when we look back at stuff that was made in that time, the propaganda, it's just so obviously propaganda. So I just started looking at it from a purely physics point of view. And I mean, I've come to the conclusion that, I mean, there wasn't even any uranium or plutonium. I think those are actually, fake substances, like made up substances. What I found, well, okay, so on the nuclear bomb things, I'll do that first, and then we can talk about nuclear power.
Yeah.
On the nuclear bomb thing, the napalm mustard gas story makes perfect sense. So like napalm is like a kind of sticky gel-like substance made from petroleum, and they would drop it over the city and then ignite it in the air. So it would basically rain down fire onto the city, and it can be very devastating. And it has that mustard gas, which is like a poison component. So it's it's poisoning people as well as burning them, if you like. And what's interesting, Michael Palmer points this out, is that that what they were doing was technically a chemical weapons experiment. And the Geneva Convention in 1925 actually forbid the use of chemical weapons in warfare, right? So, and this is just one of these weird like rules of war. So you're allowed to use combustion fuels, but you're not allowed to use chemical fuels. So you can blow people up with combustion, but if you use chemicals to burn them and poison them, then that's a violation of the rules of war. So by reframing it as nuclear, they reframed a chemical weapon to be a new type of combustion weapon, and that got around the the Geneva Convention rules or whatever. So
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah. I really that is very, very interesting. So it's a combustion. Yeah.
So it was a combustion weapon. That's what they were claiming, but actually it was a chemical weapon. And it was a new type of chemical weapon. So it was an experiment. It was it was a chemical weapons experimental attack on a civilian population. It's quite a terrible thing. But the main thing that like gives away that there was no nukes involved is there's no nuclear fallout. All right, so we're told as nuclear physicists that in the event of a nuclear explosion, there will be this thing called a fallout, which will be thousands of years of decay, mutations, unlivable conditions, like a hellscape, right? And you won't be able to go there because it'll be so radioactive and all the atoms will be decaying and it'll just be so dangerous. But actually, Hiroshima and Nagasaki just built right back after the war. And if you look at them now, they're actually in better condition than most Western cities. I mean, it's just,
Well, look at
we sort of think,
Chernobyl. There's an elderly lady. She's reached her 100th birthday. She refused to move out.
Yeah.
And she's still there.
Yeah.
But when people talk about Christmas Island, when they had the guinea pigs, the men that witnessed it, my personal belief is the reason the poor souls are going down with illnesses now is they were injected with a cocktail of toxic crap. That's what's made them ill, not this great blast. And people are saying, "Oh no, they saw the blast." Yeah, they saw the blast. Yeah, but I mean, any blast. When the IRA were doing their thing in London, a bomb went off opposite the office where I was working, and it's a miracle the windows didn't come in. And that, I mean, it's a thud. You know, it's a bomb. It's just a thud like you never heard before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's your view of Christmas Island and those experiments? I mean, do you think, like I do, that it was a concoction of crap that the poor souls were injected with?
Well, I'm not sure about the Christmas Island thing, but I mean, so you're talking. Well, there's also like
Bikini Atoll and places like that.
Right. Yeah. So we're talking large quantities of TNT is what they're using to, create those massive explosions. In fact, they called it it was called the Trinity Project. Is that right? The Trinity experiment
yes.
in Manhattan. And actually, Trinity is the first part of the word for TNT, for what TNT actually stands for. So they kind of by calling it Trinity, they put a reference to TNT like in the title of it. But you can make a bomb or explosion as big as you want, and there's no limit. It's literally just a case of how much money you're willing to spend on explosives.
Well, look at the First World War when they blew up, and you could actually hear the sound in London. It was in France or Belgium. They what they did, they tunneled under and they put loads of explosions. The actual crater is still there to this day, massive. And there it is, one of the largest artificial sounds at that time that ever happened. But so here in London, wow,
crazy.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure I'm not sure if it's France or Belgium they used it. I think it was France, but it's in the trenches in the First World War. So that is backing what you're saying in many ways. But yes, so I didn't mean to interject there. Use it mid-flow. So please carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So there's the nuclear bomb thing, and some people argue as well. It's like if nukes were real, someone would have used one by now.
That's right.
Because they talk about it every freaking week on the news. Like, oh, so and so's got nukes, and there might be a nuclear this, and it's just like. But when you actually look at the videos of warfare and the bombs, like even like these modern like hypersonic ones and everything, when you look at the size of the explosions, like it's nowhere near even close to the scale of what a nuclear blast would be. It's like, it's the nuclear bomb is like a kind of ultimate fear, like an ultimate power. It's the idea that one crazy guy has a big red button, and anytime he can push it, and everyone is going to be killed, right? And I think that's just pure propaganda, fear mongering.
Yes, I agree.
There is no such power. Yeah.
But I'm sure people like Ronald Reagan or who's that other geezer before Trump? I can't remember his name. The dopey one. Mr. President, don't press that button. Well, this one.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, when
Biden, that's it. Biden, what's that? Or do you think he would have put his sandwiches down on the button? Launch missiles. Got it.
When I lived in Hawaii, for a couple of years, and on the Big Island, and there was one day, I think it was in 2017. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and our cell phones just started like buzzing, like bang, 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 this like alert sound or whatever. And so you pick up a cell phone, it's like, warning, a missile from North Korea has been fired and is on its way to Hawaii, right? And no shit, like they sent this out to everyone's phones. And I'd just woken up, right? And I was just kind of, I'd had a bit of a late night the night before, so I was just a bit hazy, and I'm just like, no, this is not happening. This is this is bullshit. But apparently, like people were, some people were taking their kids to school, some people in the shopping malls and everything. There was like total like panic and like chaos. And they were like, oh, it was a mistake. Yeah, sorry, someone in the office like pushed a button accidentally and scared everyone in Hawaii that they were about to be hit with a missile, so yeah. I think it was just fear mongering. I think you see they do it now. I mean, they did it the other week in the UK. They sent everyone I mean, I have the alerts disabled, but they sent everyone one saying, oh, don't start any fires, don't have barbecues or whatever.
Really?
Yeah,
it's a bit like
a few weeks ago.
Something guy, Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when they was going to destroy Earth. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
The chap says, do you think to go outside and pray to God? The bloke says, yes. He said, will it make any difference? He says, no. Classic one. But now, Paul Britton says, when you work, you don't work for yourself. You work to a program. Yes, it's a very good point.
When you work, you don't work for yourself. You work to a program. Not sure what that means. I don't have a program that I work to, but I just try to talk about the things that I'm interested in. It's just stuff that I've just been into for years and years. So I try to just stick to what I know, and stick to my lane or whatever.
I know what you mean. Now we got a mystery here. Pink Planet has said, what are they really doing in that tunnel? What tunnel? So I would hang on a minute. Pink, she's gone on to say the Hadron Collider. What is going on with that? I think that's what she means. Yes.
Yeah, good one. So I did a video actually back in April about this, about CERN. I done some investigation into it, and it's like a 20-minute video or something. But yeah, so I mean, the way I sort of approach it, I mean, I know what it's supposed to be doing, right? I know what they tell us it does, that it's banging particles together and breaking them up in little pieces and analyzing all the little pieces.
Quarks, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's supposed to be exciting and discovering new physics and all this kind of stuff. But, when I actually looked at it, I realized it's not really produced anything good or useful at all. Like, that you have to look to the fruits, right? This biblical quote, Jesus Christ, he said, ye shall know them by their fruits. It's one of the most powerful bits of advice that I had when I started looking at science, because a theory is like a seed, right? And theories grow into stuff and produce fruits. But if there's theories that produce no fruits, then they're no good. They clearly don't do anything. And so that's how I sort of started looking into it. But I realized it's not producing anything. A lot of the claims are completely bogus. So what is actually going on there? Well, one of the signs is, just as you go into CERN, at next to the CERN hotel, right? So it has its own hotel, and it's not just a science lab. It's actually an entire temple complex, like a science temple, if you like. And it has this big statue of Shiva, the destroyer, right, at the front of CERN as you go into the facility. And there was a video came out some years ago. I think it might be about 10 years old now or more. And it's quite a disturbing video, and it's a late night, and this group of men in black robes like come and stand before this like statue of Shiva, and there's a woman in white robes, and she walks into the center of the circle, and then one of the guys in black robes comes and she lies down, and then he stabs her in the chest, right? And it was filmed from the hotel. So one of the guests at the hotel is like filming it, and the video is very real. It's very convincing. But CERN came out immediately and said, oh, this is just physics students just having a laugh. It's just a prank. They're just joking around. This is just like this is just normal behavior for physics students after a few beers, or whatever, just messing around. But I thought, no, this is very weird, because this Shiva the Destroyer statue that they have, I started looking into the meaning of that, and it's actually all about sacrifice, sacrificial deity, right? The idea is that you sacrifice stuff, right? Sacrifice life, or this woman that appeared to be sacrificed there, sacrifice money, sacrifice time, energy, all this kind of stuff. And I realized that was that actually kind of fits this idea of sacrifice, right? Because what we know about CERN is it gets loads of money, like 10 billion euros a year or something. It uses loads of energy, so it uses more energy than the entire city of Geneva. And just this one facility like uses more energy than an entire city. And so lots of money, lots of energy, and lots of human resource as well, like intelligent people go and work there and just crunch the numbers and crunch the data and everything, but they produce nothing good. So it seemed to me there's this theme of sacrifice that's going on there, in the sense that they're sacrificing all this time, energy, money, and people in exchange for cosmic knowledge. That's the whole premise of it, right? They're looking for cosmic knowledge, new physics, they call it. And then, yeah, I mean, it just, when I went down that thread, it just got weirder and weirder, because there's a lot of occultism going on in CERN, and like the names of the detectors and everything, like Atlas and Alice, and it's all just very weird. I would encourage like people to go and watch that video I did, because it's quite deep. But I kind of came to the conclusion that it's either like some kind of boondoggle, just like work for work's sake, doesn't actually produce anything, but just keeps people busy, or it's actually kind of a sinister, kind of sacrificial temple where things just go to be burned up, essentially, for no good reason, other than the hope of getting new knowledge. So it's pretty dark. There's a lot of darkness and occultism like surrounding CERN. It's very, very suspicious. But does it do anything good? No. Does it do anything bad? Maybe. But I don't know. I can't prove it. It just seems to not really do anything useful at all. So
that's interesting. I mean, going back to the nuclear bombs and things, because I like to sort of finish that one off. Nuclear power stations. How do they get away with that?
Yeah, so those are the two applications of nuclear physics, right? So the nuclear bomb and the nuclear power stations. These are really the only two major, alleged applications or fruits of nuclear physics, right? And so you're like, well, the bomb isn't really a fruit, and okay, the bomb's been debunked. But what about nuclear power stations? They clearly do exist. How do they work? And what is nuclear about them? So when I started looking into it, okay, I was told, as a nuclear physicist, I was told that in a nuclear power station, they get uranium, and the uranium atom is a special kind of atom, such that if you fire neutrons at these atoms, you will split them in two, and they will release more neutrons, which split other atoms, and then they will release neutrons or split it. And you get this chain reaction, and all the atoms blow up, and that's what nuclear power is. But first of all, I'm like, well, how do you get some uranium atoms, and how do you get a beam of neutrons? I mean, I studied physics for 8 years, and I had absolutely never seen or heard of like a beam of neutrons or any way that you'd be able to create such a thing. And then I realized, well, this is all just theory. This is like theory, but there must actually be a practical engineering component to nuclear power stations as well, because I realized that it's not nuclear physicists who build this stuff, it's engineers who build it, right? So there has to be a basic kind of engineering schematic for how a nuclear power station works, and there is. They say it's basically just like a giant kettle, right? So you have a heating element which heats the water, and the water produces the steam, and the steam drives the turbines. So what is the heating element? Okay, well, it's a special type of fuel It's actually called yellow cake. Have you heard of yellow cake?
No. Only what my auntie did with gherkins, but I don't think she did yellow cake. No.
Yeah, so it's that's what it's actually called. Now they will say it's uranium oxide, right? That's how they put the word uranium into it, but it's called yellow cake, and it actually looks identical to sulfur. So you've seen like sulfur is like this bright yellow, non-metallic kind of powdery substance. Well, that's what yellow cake is. It's virtually indistinguishable from sulfur, which is interesting. I'll come back to that. But so they pack the yellow cake into these little pellets, just like little air gun pellet type things. They put the fuel in the pellets, and then they load up the fuel assembly with those pellets. And then they're then able to, because the sulfur or the yellow cake inside has fire energy locked up within it, right? Like an explosive, right? Like sulfur. They're able to then ignite it, so that the heat then starts releasing from the yellow cake through the walls of the pellet. The pellet sort of slows the reaction, because if you were to just ignite yellow cake by itself, it would just go right. It would just explode. But because it's inside these little pellets, it releases its heat slowly through the walls of the pellets, and so it's more controlled. And yeah, so I when I realized that that's what's happening, and it is actually just like a kind of sulfur furnace, right? You have this material that looks just like sulfur, and they put it in these little pellets, and then they ignite it, and that releases the heat, which boils the water to create the steam. And it is actually quite a rudimentary, but very clever engineering device. And it was actually, some people have said it should be called nuclear, like NEW, nuclear, because it is actually a new type of power generation that's clear, because it doesn't produce smoke. It only produces steam. Whereas obviously the old, like coal burning, oil burning, and all that all produces smoke. But with nuclear, you produce steam and no smoke. So it's nuclear. It's a new clear type of energy. And then I realized, I learned that the anti-nuclear movement was actually funded by the oil and gas industry, right? It wasn't like
surprise me. Doesn't surprise me.
It wasn't some like grassroots, movement of like hippies who just, were just like, oh, we just want peace, and it's like nuclear is bad and everything. It was like, no, actually, nuclear power stations were very clever, very efficient power stations that don't pollute the sky. But they're being attacked and brought down by the oil and gas industry, who are funding the anti-nuclear movement because it's a threat to their business. And so that was surprising, and but it made a lot of sense. And then so there was these three big accidents that allegedly happened. So like the 3 Mile Island, the Chernobyl, and the Fukushima, and they're all super like fishy when you get into them. The 3 Mile Island one is pretty interesting. That was the first one. So actually they a week before the 3 Mile Island nuclear accident, they released a movie called The China Syndrome. Now I haven't seen the movie, but I read all about it. It's called The China Syndrome, and it's a movie about a nuclear meltdown at a fictional power plant in America. And it's called The China Syndrome because they were worried that if the nuclear core melts down, that all the fuel would burn all the way through the globe, all the way to China, right? So, at the other end. So that's why it's called The China Syndrome. So they put out this movie. It was like a smash hit movie about a nuclear meltdown all over America. And then a week later, they're like, oh, there's a nuclear meltdown, right? At 3
What
Mile
a surprise. Slap my thigh.
Yeah, right on time. It was like 12 days later or something. Yeah. And you can imagine like the hysteria that would occur in that kind of a situation where you've just watched a movie about this incident, and then it's on the news like 12 days later that it's just happened. But here's the thing, no one died. Like no one died in the 3 Mile Island accident, but they evacuated 150,000 people from their homes, right? So it was a massive, like, fear-mongering campaign, but also it led to shutting down of lots of nuclear power plants across America, and in other parts of the world. And the same happened with Chernobyl, and the same with Fukushima. It was like these events were engineered in order to get countries to start shutting down their nuclear reactors, which many of them did. It was, the anti-nuclear movement is strong, right? They want all the nuclear power stations shut down, and they don't want people using it anymore. So all these accidents were used in that capacity to try to shut down the
That's
program.
interesting. That's very, very interesting. What about radiation, though? I mean, am I? I mean, I'm a layman. I wonder whether they put because there is natural radioactivity in Cornwall, places like that, where you've got this very hard rock, granite and stuff. Do they put some sort of something like that in to bombs, into weapons? I mean, look at the weaponry that they used in Iraq war that's caused birth defects. Have you sort of anything you can sort of enlighten us on with that?
Yeah. So okay, there's a difference between radioactivity and radiation. Radiation is just light frequencies. It can be visible light, it can be invisible light, microwaves, radio waves, ultraviolet, all this kind of stuff. That's radiation. But radioactivity is, we're told, is actually particles being ejected from atoms or from nuclei. So we're told that the atoms will decay. So a piece of the atom gets spat out, and you get hit. You get hit by that little piece, little electron or alpha particle or whatever it is.
Yes,
that's what we're told. Now, as I talked about earlier, I came to the conclusion that these particles don't exist. Right, the electron, the proton, the neutron, completely hypothetical. So I don't believe that those radioactive particles do exist. Now, if you have something like a Geiger counter, if you actually look into how a Geiger counter works, a Geiger counter does not prove radioactive particles exist. Now, a lot of people think it does. They're like, if you hold the Geiger counter up to the thing, it goes.
yeah.
But actually, a Geiger counter has within it has a tube of gas, a tube of argon gas, with like two wires in each end and a voltage across it. And what happens is when that gas is exposed to radiation of a certain frequency, so this is not like a high ultraviolet frequency of light. When the gas is exposed to ultraviolet light of a high frequency, it becomes conductive, right? The light excites the gas into a conductive state, and then the electricity flows through the gas, and that's how you get the click of the Geiger counter. So Geiger counters are only telling you that there is ultraviolet light coming out of whatever it is that you're measuring. It's just picking up like little pulses of ultraviolet light. Now, the thing with ultraviolet light, particularly the high frequency ultraviolet light, is it has like no penetration depth. It literally, ultraviolet light gets stopped by the outermost layer of skin, right? Obviously, you can get a suntan if you get exposed to a lot of it. You can get tanned, or you could get burned. But it cannot penetrate beyond the outermost layer of skin. It's very, very weak penetration depth, right? Unlike something like infrared, which goes right through us and warms our whole body, ultraviolet light just stops on the skin. So I don't think the Geiger counter is any measure of danger to life. And of course, you see people just, people go up and measure things with the Geiger counter and stuff. They don't get their hand burned off, right? It's like they just hold it there, they measure it. It's like, so I don't think that there's any measure of danger to life there. And there's lots of natural radiation. And in fact, I saw something recently in New York in Grand Central Station. A guy was going around with a Geiger counter on all the big marble pillars, and it was reading, high, they were like highly radioactive, so like in his mind he thinks like everyone who walks through Grand Central Station is getting like bombarded with radioactive particles, and it's just not, that's not been proven.
Really?
It's not been proven.
What about the birth defects? I mean, could it be, I'm talking about in Iraq where they're showing you birth defects. Could that be just normal birth defects that they're hyping up, or I don't know?
Well, okay, so when you believe that radioactivity is particles, that does lead to a lot of these kind of ideas, right? That it could cause birth defects, it could cause cancer, things like this, right? Like, because the idea, like people think it causes cancer, right? So the idea is that, yeah, if these particles are decayed from atoms, they come into your body and then they then get into you and then stay in you, and then they cause other particles in your body to start decaying as well. So it's like this kind of this little particle of death that comes in and causes other particles to die around you, right? That's the idea of why radioactivity causes cancer. But if these particles don't exist, and if it's just radiation, ultraviolet light, then there's actually no mechanism by which it could cause cancer. It's just light. It's light is just a wiggle, a wiggle in the ether, right? It's like you're not like implanting someone with a particle that's causing their body to decay. You're simply just, it's just light hitting the skin. So I don't think radiation does cause cancer. In fact, they use radiation to kill cancer, right? In radiotherapy and stuff, they'll get like multiple different sources
and kill the rest of you as well.
Yeah. Well, they get like different sources of radiation, and they focus them all around the tumor. And the idea is that each source by itself is not strong enough to burn you, but where all the beams overlap, where they overlap right on the tumor, it's enough to like burn the tumor away. So they use radiation to destroy cancer, but I have not seen any evidence that you can create cancer with radiation, and it just doesn't make sense from a purely physics point of view. There's no mechanism by which that could happen, if you ask me. So I think birth defects and cancer and all that stuff is from poisoning. It's always from poisoning. I don't believe it comes from radiation.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And what you were saying about using chemical weapons and things like that, which were banned in the 1920s, that would all add up in Iraq as well. And they would use, see, the thing is that when they used gas in the First World War, it wasn't very cooperative if the wind changed direction, because you get your own gas back on you that several times. So that's why the idea of shoving them into weapons and things seemed to be quite a logical one, quite a good idea. But anyway, I'm going to whiz through. We've got loads of questions here, Stephen. I'm ever so sorry. So
that's all right. It's all good.
Now, Paul Britton, explain the Mandela effect. Well, I think I could explain that one.
Oh,
yeah. Well, Mandela, I suppose people thought they saw his funeral when he was coming out of prison.
Yeah. The Mandela effect, like I don't even know if I believe it's a real thing or not. I mean, I've heard a bunch of them. They're usually these like relatively minor things, like usually to do with media, something in the media or in a movie or some like brand or this or that appears to have changed or people remember it differently. And there's definitely some weird ones. Like the weirdest one I saw recently was the James Bond movie. Was it Goldfinger or
Goldfinger, GoldenEye?
Who's the guy that had the big giant with the braces?
Oh, that was Jaws, wasn't it? Oh,
Jaws. Yeah.
Going back a bit there, that was with Simon Templar geezer. What's his name? Roger Moore.
So, yeah, I can't remember which James Bond movie it was, but they had this guy and he had metal teeth.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was either.
And then there's a scene at the end of the movie where there's a girl, he meets a girl, and she's this girl with like pigtails and stuff, and she falls in love with him and she smiles, and she's got braces on her teeth as well.
I remember that,
yeah. The joke is that, right, she's got metal teeth and he's got metal teeth, and then they kind of fall in love. But people are saying now she never had metal teeth. You look at it now, it's like she's got no braces, and it's just like I'm just like, what
Yeah,
the heck?
this was it. The Monopoly man supposed to have a monocle, and he hasn't. And you
Yeah.
always remember him with a monocle, and things like
Yeah.
that. But
It's
there's
very
also
weird. I mean, I
false
can't.
memory syndrome. There's another one.
Yeah.
I've actually fallen for false memory syndrome. Was it play it again, Sam, in Casablanca? He never said that. He said, Sam, play it. He didn't say play it again, Sam. You see and people always thought that Humphrey Bogart said play it again, Sam. He didn't say that at
Yeah,
all.
I thought.
Yeah, he says,
Yeah.
Sam, play it. Loads of them like that.
Well, I mean, one possibility is that reality is actually much more malleable than we think it is. You know, that the past can be changed. I mean, you know, there's some really big ones like the position of South America, right? When you
Yeah.
if you fly from, say, Florida to South America, you know, people say that you used to just fly like straight south or whatever, but now you have to fly like southeast. It's like in a totally different
Yeah.
direction. It's in a different point in the map. You know, the idea that the whole continent of South America could have moved, you know, in the last 30 years somehow is just crazy. But a lot of people think, yeah, it's in a totally different position to what it used to be. And you know, so I mean, you know, maybe reality is more malleable and more changeable than we even realize. And you know, in the Hermetic philosophy and alchemy and stuff, they say that all is mind. In other words, that the everything at the most fundamental level is mental. It's like a mental projection, or, you know, and this, I mean, you know, this gets into like simulation theory and stuff, but yeah, if everything is like kind of generated from a mental blueprint, then yeah, I mean, it is possible things are much more malleable and that the past can be altered, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's yeah.
like if a tree falls in a wood and no one's there to hear it, does it make a noise? You know, that's
Yeah.
that's the thing. Now, Embryo's 4000 said that's Paul. He said there would be the expected. This is to do with flat Earth, I think. The expected gradual arrival and departure of the moon over the days either side of the eclipse, but that never happens.
Yeah.
So because Paul is a flat Earth enthusiast, and then we got someone's asked if do all aliens come from Uranus? Well,
Uranus.
if Elton John's an alien, he might come from Uranus. So there we go.
Well, I could tell you my thoughts on Uranus if you like. I mean,
that always makes schoolboys laugh, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, Uranus is a fun one because, like, in the fake news, in the fake science news, they always make stories about Uranus using, you know, double entendres and sexual innuendos and stuff like that. They can't resist it. But one of the best ones I found was, you know, this was an actual like paper I published in the journal Nature, I think, and it said that, you know, astronomers have discovered hydrogen sulfide gas clouds on Uranus, and so it sounds very technical until you realize that hydrogen sulfide is fart gas. That's what that's what farts are, hydrogen sulfide,
Yes.
right? And so they have this whole paper like, oh, we discovered hydrogen sulfide on Uranus, and they're basically telling you, you know, we discovered fart gas in your ass. You know, it's like, and there's just dozens and dozens of examples of this where they use that in a very you know, crude humor type way, and kind of disguise it as high science. But I actually, you know, I haven't talked about this in videos yet, but I've been looking into it a lot recently. I don't think Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are real at all. Like, I think there's only 7 planets, just like the ancients said: the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. The 7 luminaries that everyone can see wherever you are in the world. You can see them in the sky. But Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto have been added just in the last like 150 years or so. And I think they're made up. I don't think they're real. And I'm going to do a video about this in the future, but yeah, I don't think they're real at all.
Going off slightly, the Planet Suite by Holst. There was a chap that said that it wasn't about planets, and because he died, I think, before he finished it, People assumed it was about the planets, and they just put names to it, but apparently it might not have been. So there's another little thing there. Now, Jojo Gizmo says, "What do you think blue ice is?" I haven't got the foggiest idea myself.
I mean, I don't know. It's blue ice, isn't it? I mean, I'm
That's
not
what I
sure
thought. I thought
what you're getting
so. It's blue.
Well, I mean, just to tie it back, so there's obviously the sky is blue, right? And the daytime sky and the ether. So the ancient scientists believed that there was this thing called the ether. It was like the highest gas, the lightest gas, the purest, like the medium in which everything is existing. And they said that it is blue. The ether is responsible for the blueness of the sky. And so, yeah, I mean, blue ice, it could be frozen ether, I might say, but I'm just speculating.
Or farts. Oh, no, that'd be brown. So there we go. So now, Plink Planet says, "What is Elon Musk up to with the satellites? Is he trying to block out the sun?"
So yeah, with Elon Musk, right? He's obviously been pushing the SpaceX stuff for years now, and that they're going to take us all to Mars, and we're going to seed humanity and make humanity multi-planetary and all this kind of stuff. And it's just nonsense. I mean, I think what's going on there is counterintelligence. So military counterintelligence, right? So Elon Musk is one of the largest defense contractors, U.S. defense contractors, right? It's like, so he's obviously making all this technology, but most of it is like surveillance technology, right? It's like, internet, like Starlink. He also does the boring company, like drilling the tunnels underground, and various other things. And so I think SpaceX is the counterintelligence, right? They're obviously developing technologies that are secret, but they project to the world that they're doing it for the benefit of mankind, right? That they're going to take us all to space and save humanity. But I think that's the counterintelligence narrative, right? It's what they tell the muggles, because they don't want you knowing what it is that they're actually doing.
Yes, it's interesting. Sorry, I cut in there.
Yeah, well, because the interesting thing, like with X.com, there's this. So I started looking into like this Mars thing, right? Because he keeps talking about Mars and Occupy Mars and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as a flat earther, I don't believe that Mars is a land. I don't believe that the planets are physical. You can't go there on a ship and land on them. I believe they're transcendental or spiritual objects. But
well, there's a lemming on Mars. I know that because I saw a picture of it. Seriously, yeah. The Mars lander, which I think is Devon Island on the world, when they changed the colours around, made it a sort of a brownie colour. But
well, what kind of got me thinking about this was I found that Mars is actually the acronym. It's a military acronym. It stands for Military Auxiliary Radio System. And so it was originally a system of communication, radio communication, like an amateur ham radio network that was set up to be able to be used for military communications in the event that the government was taken over by a hostile entity. So Mars is the backup military communication systems in the event that the government becomes compromised. And I actually think that X.com is Mars, is the military auxiliary radio system, right? Because back in the day it was all radio, but now we have the internet. We don't need to use radio anymore, right? It's like we use the internet. Because I think X has very much become the place for, I mean, everything on there is about war, one way or another, whether it's left versus right, or, man versus woman, or, the Israel and Palestine, it's like X is a place where everyone is talking about war and all the time. And I think it's,
yeah.
I think it's set up to be, because it seems like the government's been compromised, right? And X could be actually the modern version of the military auxiliary radio system. That's my theory, anyway.
Good point. And Mark Mantis has gone on to say what we're talking about with the nuclear bombs. He says Churchill ordered the manufacture of massive amounts of mustard gas in Wales in World War II. Nothing surprises
Mhm.
me with that geezer. And now it says, now this is our flat Earth friend, Paul. He said the pilots and planes escaped the nukes, even though the planes at the time would not be fast enough to escape.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yes, that's a very good point. Now we've also got here Mike Mantis says, I'm sure they did genetic tests on the residents of Hiroshima 70 years after the bombing. They found nothing related to radiation poisoning or deformities, etc.
hmm
Now, Pink Planet has come up with a. Sorry, you're going to say something there.
No, yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Pink Planet has said, "Is weather? This is a good one. Is weather controlled climate change?" So the first question is weather control? Question mark. Climate change? Question mark. I see what you're getting at, Pink Planet. Yeah, I
Um,
think it is.
Yeah, I think it is, or rather, it can be. I don't know if necessarily all weather conditions are controlled, but it certainly can be manipulated. It's not as difficult as you might expect. Again, we're not really taught about this stuff in school or university, so it seems kind of far fetched when you first start thinking about it. The idea of weather manipulation, but it's quite straightforward. I mean, one of the examples I saw that they do to make rain without any chemicals or anything. There's this technique you can do where they get these like long cylinders and they put a bunch of metallic lead in one end of the cylinder, and they strap it to a helicopter, and then the helicopter drives around so that the air blows into this tube with the lead at the end, and through some alchemical process, it basically causes the air to condense, like from just the way that the ether is moving through the lead. It causes this condensation that like creates like trails and rain in the sky and stuff. And there's been a video going around recently. A woman got a kid's book from like 1954 about airplanes. It's just this little book. It's like my first book of airplanes or something like that, and she opens it, and right there on like the first page it said, sometimes pilots need to make their airplanes into rain-making machines, from like the 1954. It was just like,
Wow.
yeah, it's like,
Well, look at that disaster that happened in Devon in 1952, I think it was, where there was a massive rainstorm and it caused a massive, huge flood, which killed several people. And the RAF admitted that it was a weather modification experiment.
yeah. So rain making is straightforward. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that they can do that. But then things like tornadoes and hurricanes, even those, I mean, I find it harder to believe that those would be naturally produced, because I just don't see how nature could do such a thing. But artificially produced, well, I mean, it's just a vortex, right? To create a hurricane or whatever, all you need to do is like spin the air rapidly and create a large vortex, and then you need to be able to maneuver the vortex, which they can do also with a variety of techniques. Using radio waves and airplanes and cloud seeding and everything. They can like direct like hurricanes or tornadoes. So yeah, I think that, and then all the so-called wildfires absolutely are not wild. I think they're started for nefarious purposes.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
There. Now, I like what DJ B2 said. He said, nuclear weapons are a marketing ploy by the makers of brown trousers and toilet rolls, I'd say. And now I can answer this one. Exo says, where were the nuclear bomb fakery whistleblowers from 1950 onwards? There's loads of them on YouTube. There's a chap that actually used to bathe in water that's supposed to be radioactive.
Yeah, Galen Windsor.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
loads and loads and loads of them, the whistleblowers. Now, Mike Mantis has come back. He said, "How easy is it to make a nuke according to the mainstream theory? Personal, sourcing explosives, uranium, plutonium."
Well, it's supposed to be extremely difficult, right? So if you look at the Manhattan Project, there's a lot of lore
Yeah.
and like stories around the Manhattan Project. The biggest challenge that they allegedly had was the um, uranium. What's it called? Uranium purification. I'm not getting the word right there. Gosh, I've lost the word. But they
Mhm.
have to do something to the uranium to make it like pure enough to be
Oh,
used
sorry, I
in
can't
a
help you
bomb.
there.
Yeah, it's a word. It'll come back to me. But anyway, so that was the main issue, right? Is that they didn't know how to make uranium pure enough to be able to create the bomb. That was the big issue. And the story goes that they were approached by an anonymous spy codenamed Quantum. And this anonymous spy called Quantum gave them the knowledge of how to enrich. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, enrichment.
Yeah.
How to do uranium enrichment. It came from an anonymous spy codenamed Quantum. And even to this day, the identity of Quantum is not known. So, and this gets into all the quantum theory and stuff, and I'm a big quantum skeptic as well. So yeah, it's so it basically they basically tell you it was a quantum theory secret that they got that allowed them to enrich the uranium to the levels to create the bomb. But it's so super, technical and industrial and secretive that no normal person could just do it, right? With a lot of this stuff, that's the issue. It's like it's unverifiable, it's unfalsifiable and unverifiable. You can't ever check whether what they're saying is true or not. And science shouldn't be like that. Science should be verifiable by independent people. You can't just trust the authorities. That's not science.
And Paul Britton, I don't think anybody can answer this question. What is life and why are we here? No, I don't think we can. Not even a bloke in a black outfit with his collar back to front. No, I don't think we can.
That's the kind of thing my daughter asks me just before bedtime, She always asks the big questions when I'm like,
Is life and
absolutely, at the
why
end
are
of the
we
day,
here?
I'm just like, oh, don't ask me that now. But,
Now, Exo says, I think he's a bit of a skeptic here. If I was a nuke scientist and saw the planetary paranoia it created, I'd have said something to the waiting media. Didn't see any. Well, they're probably bumped off. Well, look at lots of other things that they kept. Look at the moon, so-called moon landings. It's all decompartmentalized and that.
yeah, well, like I said, I mean, in my time in the nuclear physics world, and I went to like loads of conferences and met nuclear physicists from all over the world. Um, nobody is working on anything related to nuclear bombs or nuclear power stations. Like as I say, it was all like fundamental science stuff to do with atomic theory and nuclear theory, but nothing actually to do with the practical applications. So, just as I didn't know how this stuff worked as a nuclear physicist, there's loads of other nuclear physicists who also don't know how this stuff works, right? They have theories that they believe in, but they don't actually know how it works. But I think, there are a lot of people who've spoken out on the nuclear issue, but the big one is Galen Windsor. And he was the head of nuclear fuel inventory for the US government. And he ran nuclear power stations for years, like very successful operations where, they were producing fuel, producing energy efficiently. Everyone loved their jobs. It was all good. And then he said, at some point, and I can't remember which year it was now, but it was probably in the 50s, the federal government came down with all these like heavy-handed safety regulations that just completely like ruined the operation. Like they're like, oh, you can only you have to keep this distance from it. You're only allowed to have 10 minutes of exposure per day and everything. He's like, but we've all just been handling this stuff with our hands for years and everybody's fine. They love their jobs. They just handle the fuel
I remember him saying that. Yes,
Yeah,
he was on
and he
YouTube,
was
wasn't
like,
it? Yeah.
and then the government came down with all this like safety, which actually, completely hindered the whole operation and made it like really unenjoyable. Um, but uh, but yeah, so and then he said he does things like he eats uranium on stage and stuff like that. He'll eat a
That's
piece
it.
of nuclear fuel on stage.
Oh, he
He
was
said
the fella that did the swimming pool job, wasn't he?
yeah, he would
was
go
yeah,
swimming in the reactor
yeah.
water. I mean, the thing is, again, when you look at these, how they actually work, they're pulling in water from the river. You know what I mean? So if you go swimming in a nuclear power station's water, you're just swimming in river water. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But because of all this fear that we have around radioactivity, it seems like it would be a crazy thing to swim in the water of a nuclear power station. It's like they've just pumped it in from the river. You know what I mean? It's just river water. Like, don't don't worry about it.
Now, Mike Mantis has come up with a good one. Is CERN a money laundering scheme like NASA?
Well, certainly a lot of money gets funneled that way, and that's why I said it might be like a boondoggle kind of a deal where it's just like work for work's sake. Like a lot of the things we have now. Like I think these windmills. I think these windmills are a boondoggle,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's just like they need to create jobs and stuff to do where they can like make all their friends rich and everything. So they put all these windmills up everywhere, but
Yeah.
they're totally unnecessary. It's a waste of time. They're all going to fall down or be taken down within like 20 years, but it's just a big money spinner to like create
Yeah.
jobs and get shit done.
Like electric noddy cars. It take a lot for me to get into a noddy car.
Yeah.
Now this is a good one. This is our flat Earth friend. This is Paul. Do you have a YouTube channel, Stephen? Yes, he does.
Yes, I do. I could show you if you like.
Yes, please. Yes, please. You need to go on there.
Right.
And it's a bloody good site as well. And of course, before we go, because we Food for Thought Radio will leave us soon. I'll just add that to the scene. Here we go. And why does it do that? Here we go.
There we go. So yeah, this is my YouTube channel, Stephen A. Young. And this is one of my recent videos here. The Ether Conspiracy has been a really popular one. The Fall of Scientism. Enlightenment by Destruction. This is the one about CERN that I was telling you about recently. Goodbye to Gravity. This was one debunking gravity. And yeah, there's other ones on alchemy and various things about there. There's like 41 videos on the channel, so I've just had it for a couple of years now. But yeah, there it is.
Brilliant.
I also have I also have a Substack as well. I'll just push Substack because
oh yeah,
Substack is really good. It's actually, I do definitely get censored on YouTube. I can see it in the analytics, but Substack actually seems to work well. It's like more meritocratic. It's always very active. I'm getting new subscribers all the time and comments and stuff coming in all the time. But with YouTube, what tends to happen is the video goes out, it gets some views, and then it just goes down and flatlines, and no one then sees it for a while because they're not going to share my stuff on the algorithms.
And not only that, you might be shadow banned like I am.
Yeah, shadow banned. Yeah, that's what I mean. So
I've had 20 of my videos taken down. They like me so much, and I've had I think it's 5 or 6 bans. But that's brilliant. Yeah, he's a bloody good YouTuber. It is. So there we go. I'll just put the chat back on. Here we go.
Thank you. And if you're interested in my book,
right here it is. Hang on. What I'll do, I'll just push you to the center there. Here we go. Oh, hasn't done it. Come on, no, that's it. Let's see if this will work. No, that hasn't worked. No,
there we are.
No, that's me. Get me. I do it, will it? Come on, I don't know. That's a bigger one, the bigger screen anyway. So I wonder if this might work. No, I still can't get it right. Sorry about this.
No worries.
I'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is about the biggest screen I can get. So this is your book. So plug. Please. What was it? Could you repeat?
Here you go. I could if I share the screen again. I could show
That
you.
will be the best idea, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. So hang on, I'll just move my ugly mug up the page. Oh, come on. Boom. Here we are.
Coming through. No, there we go.
No, hang on. Why does my ugly mug always come on there? Get on there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a delay, but it should be on now.
Yeah, it's on there, but I'm trying to get my ugly mug off. Here it is. Right.
there we go. So, so it's available on Amazon.
That's not bad. 16 notes or £11. That's bloody cheap. That is. That's good. That is.
144 reviews. Yeah, it's 4.3 out of 5. It's doing good. So that's the main place to get it. And but you can also get it on my website if you want it signed. If you want a personal note, signed from me, then you can get it on my website, stephenyoung.uk. And if you just scroll down here, you'll see it's there. You can buy a signed paperback or a signed hardback, and I'll sign it and send it to you.
So your website is
stephenyoung.uk.
stephenyoung.uk. So that's the site to go on. And I believe you're doing a talk in London soon.
Yes, that's right. I've got a talk coming up in London. Let's see. Here we are. Illuminate and Elevate, it's called. It's on September 11th. Don't let that put you off. It was the only day they could do it. But Illuminate and Elevate. There's like a bunch of speakers. We've got Steve Faulkner, Don Lester, who I believe you know.
Oh, Don. Yeah, I know Don.
Yeah, Dave Manal, Tom Shaw, and Lucia Papa. It's just one day of talks, and then there's going to be a dinner in the evening, which is optional if you want to come to dinner with us. And as well, you can do that. So it's in Herringham Hall on Friday, September 11th. Yeah.
What part of London is that? Herringham Hall?
Good question.
I've never heard of it.
Regent's Park.
Oh, Regent's Park.
Yeah. Regent's Park, NW1. So,
you ever come to Hertfordshire? I mean, it's a very friendly county, especially the independent state of Fockham that's in Hertfordshire, which, you know, well, the smallest country in the world, unless you know differently.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite large, actually, because all the little different areas where there's, Fockham people around.
Is that Fockham Hall?
Fockham Hall, yes.
Fockham Hall.
Now, this is a good one. Embryo says, by the way, in about 4 minutes' time, Food for Thought Radio will leave us. And what happens is the music automatically cuts in. I just warn you of that, okay? Do you think they have been using CERN to speed up time?
I don't really understand how that would work. I know there's a lot of people claiming that the CERN is causing the Mandela effect, or that it's opening portals and bringing demons in and all this kind of stuff. But I can't prove any of that stuff, and I really don't have any understanding of how that would work. So no, I tend not to make those claims.
And there's the other one. Was it? Is reality? This is Paul Britton. Is reality separate from what we are led to believe?
Yeah, but I mean, very much so. Yeah, I think this whole awakening movement is really a coming to reality. As you know, we're asleep when we're living the dream, right? When we're believing in all the things that we've been taught at school and all the things that the media tell us, that's not reality. But when we wake up, that's when we actually realize the reality is different to what we've been told. And, again, I talk about fire, earth, air, and water, which are the realest things we have. And when you start seeing the world in terms of fire, earth, air, and water, you'll have a really much better grasp of reality than, what we've been taught at school. They're called the elements for a reason, because everything in reality is made from fire, earth, air, and water.
This is the fastest 2 hours I think we've ever had on the show.
It flew by, didn't it? Yeah,
it's flying by. Now, Paul Britton says, if you mix up what you believe and what you know, you will never be a real scientist.
Yeah. So you've got to be very clear about what is belief and what is knowledge. And with the flat Earth thing, because you get all the time you get accused of like believing in flat Earth, but every flat earther will say, no, I don't believe in flat Earth. I know I know the Earth is flat and stationary. I believed it was a spinning ball, but now because of the work I've done, I know that it's flat and stationary. But then you'll get accused of all sorts for that. But I think honestly, flat Earth is about intellectual honesty. It's about whether or not you could admit that you have no proof of the globe. And a lot of people just can't admit that. They'll be like, oh no, but what about the pictures from NASA or whatever? They haven't dug deep enough. It's like they're not prepared to just own up and say, you know what, I've never seen any proof of the existence of the globe. And it's like, you just got to be honest and say, okay, so then let's look for proof. And then you start looking and then you realize there just is none. Every globe is a fictional construct.
It's a bit like when I was on the way to the moon or the studio, whatever way you want to look at it. They would have had a fantastic view of the stars, wouldn't they? No. And also, when the moon landed on the moon, there'd been a bloody great crater under it, but there wasn't. There are. This is Paul. There are nuclear flash trains from Sellafield, or there used to be, which used to have a pair of locomotives and a coach with armed staff in. Well, you know, he's our transport minister. So there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So there he is. And now Paul Britton again says they use beliefs to divide you. Here it comes. Right. I'll just turn that down a little bit. We're just saying goodbye to Food for Thought Radio, and we'd like to thank Food for Thought Radio. We will be carrying on for a little while on YouTube, Rumble, Holylandradio and Holyland FM. There we go. Now, so have you heard this one?
It's better than any song. Though it isn't very pretty, you've got to admit it's cute. So all together let it go. Eat more fruit.
You have been listening to Fockham Hall with Eric Von Essex. Remember, whatever you do, have a bloody good laugh.
And there we go. And we just said
Very
goodbye
good.
to, I'll just knock them off. There we go. To Food for Thought Radio. Now we've read that one out, haven't we? We've got another one coming through. Where are we? Actually says, I love Jane Fonda. Do you really? I don't think Vietnam veterans do very much, though. Especially the ones that are POWs. Michael Douglas, What a Stud, China Syndrome, etc., etc. Wakey, wakey. Yeah. Pink Planet. What are the 5G masks about?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously it was well suspicious when they just started popping up everywhere during COVID when,
Yes.
everyone else was supposedly not allowed to go to work, but it was perfectly fine for people to go out and put these strange masks up all over town. I know people say they can be made into weapons or whatever, but I've not seen any evidence of that actually being done, like actually, using them to like focus beams and like kill people or whatever. But I understand the idea that they could be, ramped up and used for a variety of nefarious things. But I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just, giving us a 5G phone signal. The 5G is actually really good. I mean, I was in Australia last year, and I was like out on the beach, like with my feet in the water, on the phone, talking to my wife and kids in Scotland, and it was completely like perfect, like HD, like
Yeah.
real time, quick as anything, and it was just they're like 10,000 miles away, no wires, and it was on 5G, and I was actually just astonished by how fast it was. So I mean, I think they are upgrading the communications infrastructure, and yeah, there's a possibility that it could be used for nefarious means, but I don't know if that's what it was all about.
Well, look at China, where they got facial recognition and things like that. I don't
Yeah.
think it was mixed with 5G.
Mhm.
Now, this is a good one. Mike Mantis. Is quantum physics real?
um, well, I have there's a 2-hour presentation on my YouTube channel about quantum physics called Disentangling Fantasy from Reality. And I try to, go through all of quantum physics and, separate what is actually proper physics from what is more like psychological or purely theoretical. And I would just say I don't think quantum physics has actually produced anything. It's fruitless, right? It doesn't give us anything. They talk about the potential for quantum computers. Every so often, every few months, you'll see an article on the news about quantum computers that they're just around the corner or you're just coming over the horizon, this kind of thing. But you have to remember, I was doing quantum physics 30 years ago, and it was the exact same then as it is now. It's just quantum computers are not real. They're never coming. Like it's like a nuclear bomb kind of a thing, right? It's like like this or like vaporware, right? It's like technology that's always, they say, is always coming, right? But it never materializes.
Precisely.
Yeah. And you can go back, go on the BBC website, search for quantum computing or quantum computers, and just go back through all the news stories they've done about quantum computing in the last like 15, 20 years. It's like they're all the same. It's like this, it's just pure hype. There's no demonstration.
That's right.
Nothing real, nothing ever happens. Like,
and since I was a teenager, which was a long time ago, they've been saying the government very soon is going to announce that alien life does exist.
yeah.
That's since I was a teenager.
That's the other one.
They're going to make it soon.
Now, if the government said it, you wouldn't believe them anyway.
Now, there's an interesting question. Oh, that's right. Now, it's an interesting question. Is there life on Brian Cox? And if so, is it intelligent? Because so that's my one. Johnny Mann said, I saw Brian Cox when he was the keyboard player in the rock band Dare. Bloody good band, but better now without him. I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
And I can't stand people. I can't stand smug BBC gits.
Yeah.
Now, Mike Mantis says, so Einstein plagiarized. Matilda's question. In my view, yes.
Yeah, I mean, there was that going on, but I mean, the whole Einstein thing is a massive like operation because he, like, his work, or the work that was credited to him, was all used to completely change physics. Like everything, every one of his things, whether it's special relativity, relativity, photoelectric effect, the photon, everything that he's credited for was used as the foundation of a whole new scientific narrative. And what's quite interesting is that the name Einstein actually means one stone or first stone.
Really?
Yeah, Einstein, right? It's like one stone or first stone. And in Freemasonry, right, they have this thing called the cornerstone, right, which is the first stone. If you're going to build something, the first stone is the foundation stone, is the first stone to be laid, like building a cathedral, and then everything gets built around that foundation stone. And what I found was that the whole of modern, I believe the whole of modern physics is a construct which is built on the first stone of Einstein. And actually, a lot of these quantum physicists had completely made up names, like literally, Einstein, Schrodinger, Heisenberg, Pauli, like Dirac. These are not their real names. They're made up names. It was all military intelligence, counterintelligence.
Well,
it's all tied up with the bomb as well. Quantum physics is intimately tied with the Manhattan Project and the bomb, and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm a full-blown quantum skeptic now, and I used to love it. I used to be all about it. I used to be so identified with it. I'm like, I'm a quantum physicist. But now I'm just like, whatever. It's like there's nothing there.
Well, apparently, Einstein, well, he worked for a patent's office. He was, and as far as I'm concerned, he was a plagiarist. And E equals MC squared was devised. I might be talking, but it was devised in the 1870s in London, and it was nothing to do with him. He just found it in the patents.
Yeah.
And
If it's not
and it-
even useful, like it's not even a useful equation. It's funny, like everyone's heard of it. Like it's the most famous physics equation in the world, but you don't use it for anything. It's like literally useless. You'd be better remembering how to convert miles to kilometers.
Yeah.
That would be a more useful
use
equation
use
to
Sunny
learn.
Lab and use toilet duck in your lavvy, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yes. E equals MC squared. This is Mike Mantis said, Einstein married his cousin twice. He was a very weird man. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And apparently he got into America because he was a typical mad scientist. He looked like
Yeah.
one. They reckon he was a bit, better for the other side. He might have done. Who is running the Earth scam now? Then, sorry, this is Pink Planet. Who is running the Earth scam then? I think your guess is about as good as mine, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, it gets very murky as you go like further up the control structure. But coming at it from the point of view of science and education, I think it all goes back to the Jesuits. There was a very clear directive coming from the Jesuits to basically overturn like education completely. I mean, they talk about that they wanted to get it to the point where people would say that snow is black and they would believe it, right? It's like literally it was called learning against learning. And they created the curriculum. So the scientific curriculum is fixed all over the world. You go all over, go to the east, go to the west, like south, everywhere, anywhere you go learn science, you get taught the exact same worldview. And this is in part due to the Jesuits, and then later UNESCO. So UNESCO was UNESCO was set up to standardize the worldview all across the realm, and that's why all over the world you get taught about the globe, you get taught about viruses, you get taught about evolution, yada yada. Like all that was like set a long time ago, and is a deliberate effort to actually diminish us and keep us down, make us not powerful but like docile, make us obedient workers and docile consumers, because we're just given all this complex theory that we can't use and it doesn't make any sense, but we believe it. And it's universal. And this is it. So the word Catholic actually means universal, right? That's what it means. Like Catholic means universal. And so
I didn't know that.
so that's why it's all universities, like anything like union or universities or United. It's all like Dundee United, my local football team, set up by Catholic priests. Manchester United, United European Union, United Kingdom, like anything United or universal or university or anything like that. It all goes back to the Jesuits in the Roman Catholic Church. So yeah. But are they the top boss or whatever? I don't know.
Well, before I mean, what I'm about to mention, I don't go around. I haven't got an inflatable doll of Mr. H, and I'm not a supporter of totalitarianism. But they reckon that Germany got way ahead in World War II with technology because they didn't look at what Einstein and all that rubbish. They saw through it. They didn't look at the science stuff.
There was,
and they were very advanced, incredibly advanced.
They distinguish between German science and Jewish science.
Yeah.
Like Deutsche Physik. Yeah, Deutsche Physik and Jewish physics. Yeah, they're different. And of course, by Jewish physics, they meant, the physics of Einstein and the quantum theory and stuff, because you can't do anything with it. But so it's...
And I think I personally think we're ruled by psychopaths. Mm-hmm. It's been scientifically proven their brain is different to human, and it has been suggested that they are subspecies because they do not have compassion or anything like that. They're just, and their frontal lobe is completely different to the human frontal lobe.
Yeah.
So I do believe that. Now, some think, this is Jojo Gizmo, some think blue ice is the firmament. Sorry.
Oh, right, the blue ice being a part of the firmament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some pretty amazing blue, it wasn't ice technically, but it was like a crystal with all these it was very cool. I mean, and I did speculate there was like a piece of the firmament potentially. So, because the idea is that they shoot things up to the firmament, right? There's they try to break through it, like Operation Fishbowl. They'll send bombs and missiles up and try to break out of the prison, if you like, but maybe they're knocking chunks off of it, which are then falling back down onto the earth. But yeah, I don't know. It's all speculation.
Interesting. Now, what is the double slit experiment? Okay.
Oh, right. So I'm going to have to wrap things up soon, but
I understand. Well, I've never heard of the double slit experiment. So, and I'm just having a look. How many we got?
So originally the double slit experiment, it was a guy called Thomas Young in the early 1800s, and he used it to prove that light is a wave. So basically he fired a beam of light through two slits, closely spaced together, and then the light spreads out into these lines called an interference pattern. And the same thing happens. You can do it with the same thing happens with sound waves. The same thing happens with water waves. Any kind of wave will do this when you put it through two slits. So this was the proof that light was a wave. But then in the 20th century, the quantum physicists have taken that and they've turned it around and tried to make it proof that light is a particle. And it's kind of a technical thing. I go into it in my quantum physics debunk presentation in more depth, but they've completely butchered it. They talk about that they're able to send individual electrons through the slits now, which makes no sense at all. And this is an experiment that's never been demonstrated. This idea that you can send electrons one by one, and somehow they go through the two slits and then make the pattern at the end and everything. It's completely hypothetical, not a real experiment, and but quantum physics bases a lot of its assumptions on this experiment. So yeah, the quick answer is the double slit experiment proves that light is a wave.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Mike Mantis. Now, I'll read two of these comments out because they're both, and he said, Mike Mantis says, what about Professor Dave ? He debunked flat Earth and debated flat Earth and
Flat Earth Dave.
Flat Earth
Yeah, he
Dave.
hasn't debunked flat Earth.
Now,
these
hang on.
guys, yeah.
Johnny Man's gone on to say, sorry, I didn't mean to cut in there. You mean Dave Farina, who asked why things don't fall up and to put a clock on the ceiling that's not translucent and has no mirror perspective? That clown. So there we go.
Yeah, he's like a globe. Well, they call him, shills or whatever. People who actually get paid a lot of money to attack flat Earth and flat earthers. That's the thing. Flat earthers are not really getting anything out of this. You know what I mean? They don't make much money. They, they get cast out of their friend groups, and they can't get jobs and everything because of their opinions. But guys like him can just go on and make videos making fun of flat earthers and trying to debunk it, and they get millions and millions of views and loads of money and all this support from the algorithm and everything, while all the real flat earthers are getting shadow banned, can't make money, can't get jobs and everything. It's just, yeah, there's an anti-flat earth contingent online, and they make videos all the time, but none of them have ever proven the globe. We know because we were globe believers as well. You know what I mean? We were globe believers. I believed in the globe till I was 38 years old. I know everything about it. I have a PhD in nuclear physics, a degree in astrophysics, and everything. I know everything about the globe and outer space, and and I know it's not real. And it's and that's it. It's these globe defenders. They never prove the globe. They just attack flat earthers. That's the difference. It's your job is to prove the globe. Don't start just attacking us because you don't like what we're saying. But that's all they do. They just attack, and
Well,
it's pretty tiring.
It's probably I used to be a vegan, and my stomach is not going to be a cemetery for animals and all this, that, and the other. And I didn't realise it was not only affecting my health, it was affecting my gut. And your gut is your second brain. And it was making me irritable and really terrible. Now I'm a meat eater and I have a carnivore diet.
Yeah.
I've gone the complete opposite way now. When I was a vegan, I could never imagine what would have happened. But it's surprising. I think that I keep an open mind on everything now, absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I was a nipper, you know, the moon landings, I was really into it. Oh, I really believe there was blokes wandering around on the moon. And if someone would come along and said, no, they haven't, I said, I'd have defended it. Yes, I've seen it on television. Of course it is. But we know it's different. Anyway, would you like to round off now? And
yeah, I think it's getting pretty late for me. I'm usually
it's
in my
getting a bit late.
bed, drifting off by this time of night, but it's been a great conversation. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm glad
And,
I stayed up for it.
And you're most welcome anytime again on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much,
anytime.
Eric. Yeah, it was a great chat.
So the chat likes you, and I like, and I think that the audience has, you know, been a good audience.
Yeah.
And I say it's to, you know, a few people. You're part of the team now, so you can come on whenever you want. So if you want,
thank you very much.
So that's it. I mean, this is the fastest 2 hours ever.
Yeah, it did fly by.
We haven't really carried. There's a lot more to cover as well. So remember to get Stephen Young's book, and also down in London. Was it September the
11th? Yeah,
September the 11th.
Yeah,
and down in Regent's Park.
Yeah.
And if you don't like London like me, you can sort of go. I've actually got a phobia about cities. I can't actually go near cities. I even though I worked in London, I couldn't stand it. But
yeah, I'm not a big city guy, but I haven't actually been to London for years. Like, yeah, so this will be first time in a long time. But it's only for a couple of days. It's just a one-day event. I'm only going to be there for like 2 days. But I love meeting people, these events, and meeting face to face, because so much of what we do is like online and over email and stuff like that. And there's obviously a lot of barriers there. But when you meet people face to face and just get to hang out and have a drink with them and
it's nice, isn't it?
It's great. Yeah, I really enjoy it. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. And when we get off, I'm sure I'll be 101 questions to ask, and that it's been fantastic. And as I say, tomorrow night we got a show, and it's called, I have to look at that because I can't remember it. It's called Pronoia. Now, Pronoia, and you think, what on earth is that? And that's the opposite to paranoia.
Pronoia, yeah.
Pronoia. And we'll be looking into pronoia, and also why things are negative and what social engineers are up to. Because the wars now are not fought so much with weapons, they're fought on the mind.
The battlefield of the mind, yeah.
That's right. Anyway, it's don't watch, we just count down there. So thank you very much. So please join us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, same time, same place. And shove the thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Please subscribe. Tell others. Buy Stephen's book. Fantastic book. And whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh. And good